Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is, well, it's about cutting through all that noise, the hustle culture, the pressure for instant transformation. We're going to dissect a concept that promises real success, but not through some massive effort. It's about tiny, consistent, almost boring daily progress.
It's exactly it, yeah. We're unpacking material based around this 1% rule, and it really challenges that whole idea that change has to be, monumental to even count.
Right.
This view argues that, great success isn't really about some dramatic breakthrough or sheer luck. It's more like a predictable law of growth, built entirely on small, repeated actions.
And I bet if you're listening, you've probably tried making a big change, right? Like a new diet or maybe committing to intense study, launching a side project, and then maybe quit after a couple of weeks.
Right.
Because the effort just felt huge, unsustainable.
And that failure to sustain, that's the core problem this whole philosophy tackles. We're sort of conditioned to think change needs this massive leap. And we'll show you today why that belief, well, this is probably the main reason people actually quit.
Okay.
Instead, we're going to reveal the surprising math behind, true exponential growth.
It feels slow at first, maybe, but it's unstoppable once it gets going.
Okay, let's dive into that math then, because this is the part that really grabs you, doesn't it? This idea that you just commit to being like 1% better today than yesterday. That seems tiny.
Yeah.
Negligible almost. You wouldn't even notice it day to day, right? But what happens if you actually stick with that for a whole year?
Yeah. See, the law of compounding, it's not just for money in a bank account. It applies directly to skills, habits, personal growth, everything.
Okay.
So if you do manage that daily 1% improvement, which, like you said, feels almost too easy. Sometimes you don't just end up 365% better after a year. That's linear thinking.
Right, that's just adding it up.
Exactly. Because of the compounding effect, where each day's gain builds on the last, you actually end up, wait for it, 37 times better than when you started. Whoa. Okay, hold on. 37 times, not just 3.7 or something.
37 times. It's exponential. That's the huge difference between just, functioning day to day and really achieving a kind of mastery.
That explains a lot. It suggests that the people we see as legends in whatever field, sports, business, art, you name it, they didn't necessarily have some massive talent advantage from day one. Maybe they just mastered being consistent with those tiny improvements.
And this isn't just like motivational talk. It's math. It's a real effect. The people who truly excel focus on actions so small, they're almost easy to do.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, like reading one extra page than you normally would, or doing one more rep at the gym, maybe perfecting one tricky chord on the guitar, writing just 2 more lines of code.
Simple things.
Super simple. Or even choosing to prep your lunch the night before. It's the consistency of that small choice that dictates the quality of the big outcome down the line.
That really reframes the whole idea of striving for success, doesn't it? You stop looking for that one perfect, huge, life-changing action.
Right, the silver bullet.
Yeah, and you just focus on the next tiny, doable step that's right there in front of you. Okay, that math is, well, it's pretty compelling. Hard to argue with 37 times better. But if it only takes these small, simple inputs, why isn't everyone doing it? Why aren't gyms overflowing? Why isn't every savings account maxed out? If it's that easy, what's the real roadblock? What stops people from sticking to this 1% thing?
The enemy is, well, it's baked into our biology, unfortunately. It's instant gratification.
Okay.
We are literally wired to seek immediate rewards, that quiet, maybe boring work of making progress. It offers basically zero short-term buzz.
Right. No dopamine hit there.
Exactly. Whereas distractions, scrolling your phone, grabbing comfort food, watching just one more episode, that gives you an immediate little hit of pleasure.
So the brain just defaults to the easy pleasure path. And I guess society kind of pushes us that way too, with all the shortcut trap stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Society doesn't help. We get bombarded constantly with headlines promising these huge immediate results: lose 20 pounds in 30 days, become a millionaire overnight. You know the type.
Yeah, get rich quick, get fit quick.
That whole narrative, it poisons our expectations about how real growth actually happens. Because real substantial growth, the kind that gets you that 37x improvement, it doesn't happen with dramatic shortcuts.
So what does it require?
It requires silence, patience, and repetition. And most people give up because they hit this point.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's called the valley of disappointment.
The valley of disappointment, what's that exactly?
It's that flat part you see on a compounding curve right at the beginning. For the first few weeks, maybe even months, you're putting in the effort, you're doing your 1%.
Right, you're showing up.
You're showing up. But the results, They're tiny, microscopic even. You don't look fitter yet, your bank balance hasn't really budged, your skill level still feels clumsy.
And because our brains want that instant feedback.
Exactly. Because we crave that immediate proof it's working, this slow period feels like failure. And the urge to just quit and try something else, something big and exciting and new, and becomes enormous.
Okay, so the real battle isn't just doing the 1% action itself. It's enduring that period where the effort feels like it's going nowhere. How do you, how do we stay motivated then when the results aren't showing up yet?
You have to shift how you measure things.
Hmm.
In those early stages, you really can't measure the outcomes. It's pointless. It's discouraging. You have to measure the process.
Measure the process. How?
So instead of asking, did I lose any weight this week?
Hmm.
You ask, did I stick to my 1% goal, say my walk or my reading, 5 out of 7 days this week? You track adherence.
Ah, okay. Focus on the behavior, not the result yet.
Precisely. And every single time you track that adherence, every time you choose that quiet, maybe difficult work over the easy distraction, you're actually reinforcing the identity you want, the identity of someone committed to the long game.
So you're training the discipline muscle.
That's it. You're training the muscle of discipline. And that feeling of keeping your promise to yourself, that becomes a far better immediate reward than chasing some outcome that hasn't shown up yet.
That's a really critical shift in perspective. You're saying the small choice, the 1% action, it's not just about getting a task done. It's like casting a vote for the person you want to become.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Every 1% choice reinforces that identity. When you choose to read those 10 pages, you slowly stop being someone who just wishes they read more.
Like you start becoming.
You start actually identifying as a reader. And that identity shift, that's the internal engine. That's what powers you through that valley of disappointment when the external results are still lagging.
Let's try and make this really concrete for everyone listening. It's easy to talk about 1% improvement in the abstract, but let's look at some actual numbers. How do tiny daily inputs stack up into like massive annual output?
Yeah, okay. When you break down the actual numbers, the power of these small inputs, it just becomes undeniable. Let's take reading, for example. A commitment to reading just 10 pages a day. That sounds like nothing, right? Takes maybe 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, pretty manageable.
Well, do that consistently. And it adds up to reading more than 12 full books in a year. 12 standard length books.
12 books just from 10 pages a day. Wow, that's actually a significant amount of knowledge or stories absorbed without ever feeling like you're cramming or forcing it.
It integrates seamlessly, yeah. Or think about money. Personal finance.
Yeah.
If you commit to setting aside just a small amount daily, let's say the equivalent of, I don't know, a fancy coffee.
Like a few dollars or pounds or whatever.
Yeah, a small daily amount. Over a year, that single habit builds up substantial capital, often thousands depending on the amount. It just proves the size of the initial input is way less important than the regularity of the habit.
And what about health? That's where so many people struggle with consistency.
Same principle applies. Walking for just 15 minutes every day. 15 minutes.
Seems tiny.
Totally tiny.
Mm-hmm.
But it accumulates to over 90 hours of dedicated movement in a single year. 90 hours.
That's almost 4 full 24-hour days of just moving your body, built up 15 minutes at a time.
These examples really drive it home, don't they? Success isn't about waiting for some huge block of free time or a sudden windfall of cash. It really confirms that old saying, a mountain is made of tiny stones.
Your future self. That 37 times better version.
Yeah, it's being built entirely by the small, seemingly insignificant things you choose to do today, not someday. Today.
Okay, but I need to push back a little here, just for clarity. We're talking about getting 37 times better in a year by improving 1% daily.
Mm-hmm.
But surely, there have to be limits, right?
Yeah.
If I'm improving a really complex skill, say playing the violin, by 1% every single day, does that eventually mean I'm practicing 20 hours a day? Or like you hit diminishing returns, plateaus. How does this 1% idea handle sustainability?
That's a really important question. And the answer is that the meaning of 1% improvement kind of shifts over time. It adapts.
How so?
Well, in the meaning, 1% often means adding something new. An extra page, 1 more rep, 5 more minutes of practice. You're acquiring.
Okay.
But as you get better, as you approach a higher level of performance, that 1% improvement often changes. It might become 1% refinement.
Ah, like improving technique, not just quantity.
Exactly. Or it might mean finding a 1% inefficiency and eliminating it. Or maybe your 1% improvement is actually getting 1% more rest to avoid burnout and maintain consistency.
So it shifts from just adding more to becoming smarter or more efficient or even maintaining.
Precisely. Sometimes the biggest gain comes from removing a small negative habit, not adding a new positive one. The philosophy is flexible enough to embrace that. It's not just about relentless addition.
That makes sense. And it connects really well to the final big idea here, which goes beyond just the numbers and the metrics. It's about how these tiny gains actually change who you are, which I imagine is key for making it stick long term.
That's the ultimate payoff, isn't it? The compound effect doesn't just boost your results, it fundamentally shapes your identity. The progression is pretty clear when you lay it out.
How does that work?
Okay, so step one, you start with committing to those small habits, like we discussed.
Right, the 1% actions.
Then, through sheer repetition, those habits start to actively shape your identity, how you see yourself, what you believe you're capable of doing consistently.
Okay.
And finally, that reinforced identity, the belief that I am the kind of person who does this, that ultimately determines your destiny, your long-term trajectory.
So it's like a feedback loop. If I manage to save that small amount every day, I don't just end up with more money. I start to see myself as a financially disciplined person, which probably makes it easier to make the same choice tomorrow.
That's exactly why habits become so incredibly powerful. Those tiny choices you make, they become strong, predictable patterns in how you behave.
Okay.
Those patterns then solidify into powerful, almost automatic habits. Stuff you do without even thinking, without needing much willpower.
Like brushing your teeth.
Kind of like that, yeah. And once your powerful habits are aligned with where you want to go, they create these unstoppable results. Because the effort isn't this constant internal battle anymore. It's just who you are. The compounding is working on your character just as much as it's working on your output.
Wow. So the real message is success isn't really about reaching some destination way off in the future. It's about the small, sometimes tedious choices you make right now, today, because those choices determine the person you're actually becoming. Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, let's crystallize the challenge for you, the listener. Based on everything we've unpacked, here's what we suggest. Choose one area, just one. Could be your health, your career, learning a new skill, maybe just your mindset. And commit to improving it by just 1% daily, starting today or tomorrow morning.
And remember, the action should feel almost too small, almost trivial, like reading one extra paragraph before sleep. Not a whole chapter, just a paragraph.
Or going to bed literally 10 minutes earlier than usual.
Yeah, or spending just 10 minutes tidying your main workspace. The key is finding something with such a low barrier to entry that you feel confident you can stick with it without fail for maybe the next 30 days.
Because those tiny actions done consistently, they really can build the person you've always hoped to be.
Yeah.
Simply because that unstoppable math of compounding starts working for you, not against you.
And if you only take away one single thought from our conversation today, let it be this. You don't need to magically become twice as good by tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just need to be 1% better than you were today.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If success compounds like interest in a bank account, and we accept that not all 1% improvements yield the exact same return, maybe ask yourself, what specific area of your life right now would have the highest potential interest rate? Meaning, where would a consistent 1% improvement create the biggest, most accelerating positive impact on your overall happiness or your biggest goals? Think about that. That's the 1% challenge we leave you with.